Are you a business owner or entrepreneur who's had great success in the business world, and now you want to launch a speaking career to share your message with the world? If that's you, then listen up. 25-year speaking industry veteran Brett Ridgway has released his latest special report, 3 key things entrepreneurs must master to build a profitable speaking business. To pick up your copy, go to brettridgway.com/freebie. Welcome to the Spotlight on Speaking show with Brett Ridgway, where you'll learn the keys to building a profitable speaking business from speaking industry pros. Each week, we interview a great guest who will share his or her speaking journey, identify what their keys to success have been, and highlight some critical mistakes they've made along the way that you'll want to avoid. Be sure to visit our website at spotlightonspeaking.com. And while you're there, subscribe to us via your favorite network. Now, sit back, tune in, and get ready to meet this week's guest.
Hello again, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Spotlight on Speaking show. I'm your host, Brett Ridgway, and super excited to have as my guest today, Mitch Carson. Mitch and I go back several years. I think the last time we crossed paths, Mitch was at a JV Zoo event down in Orlando, Florida several years ago, where Mitch was the MC for that event, and I was delighted to see our paths cross again recently and have Mitch as a guest on my show. Now, Mitch has a fascinating background and definitely is somebody that you should be listening to as we talk today. He started several companies he's built to 7 or 8 figures. He built a promotional products company to over $10 million in sales, largely through public speaking. He's coached over 600 speakers, authors, coaches, and consultants, helping them to achieve their goals. And I'm sure we have a lot to learn today from Mitch. So welcome, Mitch, to the Spotlight on Speaking show.
Great. Well, Brett, thank you for having me. It's always an honor to talk to a fellow speaker and a man in my niche. That way, because we can understand each other so well.
And we're both so damn old now, Mitch, that we've probably seen about everything.
Stop telling the truth. And I'm not going to share my AARP card.
All right, Mitch, so let's go back. I want to talk about the promotional products company. So you grew a large company. When did you finally realize or first realize that, I need to get up in front of people and speak one-to-many versus one-to-one to really explode this business the way I'd like to? So when was that epiphany?
That epiphany took place in, I'm going to say, circa 1997, to where I had already been speaking quite a bit prior to that. I've got almost a 40-year career on the platform. The one-to-many selling piece came through the inspiration of my then mentor, Dan Kennedy. I was in his mastermind, and because I was very successful in the promotional products industry, and I would speak on occasion for chambers or for Lions clubs or the Elks Club or some of the Rotary, talk about these things. Dan came to me with a challenge, and this is going to answer one of the other things you had asked about. Is he said, I've got an upcoming chiropractic event for marketing for chiropractors that he's going to have a bunch of speakers at. Mark Victor Hansen was one, Ben Altadonna was another, and a few other people that you may or may not know. But these were experienced pitchmen. So I was more information-based, and I went to school on that day. So this was almost 30 years ago, in about 1997. So it was 27 years ago, if my math is correct. And at that event, this was pre-PowerPoint. We didn't use PowerPoint back then. We used overhead projectors with the vellum paper that you put on, and it was a hot lamp, a light underneath, and it projected against the wall. So this is the first time of me selling anything from the stage, which really piqued my curiosity. Information dump I could do quite easily. Keynoting to me was simple. That wasn't challenging at all. But selling from the stage is a whole different level. That's the major leagues. And I had just seen Mark Victor Hansen sell. John Carlton had just sold his copywriting course. All these speakers were in there. And then I came up with my vellum covers, and one by one, there was the fan that came out of the projector, and it blew all of my vellum papers onto the floor. Now I'm already sweating. We were talking earlier about tie or not, and I was wearing a very tight tie around my 17.5-inch neck, and it was all the way up. Well, my armpits were dripping, Brett. I just dropped all of my slides, which were then tangible physical slides, not PowerPoint slides that we use today, and they fell on the floor. And I'm scurrying through these 40 overheads of how am I going to place it? And I'm sloppy and I'm mixing, and Dan is doing this in the back of the room. First time I'm speaking for him at his event. So I'm looking like the most non-professional person in the world. And I just went to, hey, Dan said I need to sell something to you. And he did this again with both hands. He's in the back of the room, Brett. So you can appreciate this dynamic in the visual. So both hands go on the forehead, just like this. And I said, well, I've got this is cassette tapes back then, mind you, cassette tapes. It was my black belt direct marketing system. I said, this will help your chiropractic practice mail better. And it used, dimensional mail items. And it was a good system. It was in its infancy. And I put this together and I put a fair amount of time in it, but I put almost no time in the pitch, no time in the presentation, no time in the thinking and the psychology of how I'm going to sell. None of that was implemented. I focused on the product, where I later learned product later, sell first, see what people respond, then fill it. All these lessons came up later. Needless to say, out of a room of 60 chiropractors, I sold one. And I think the person felt so sorry for me that she bought and then later refunded. But it was at least I had a sale on the books. And I went and sat out in the lobby after I did this, and I'm drenched. I was so overwhelmed with failure, shame. And my mentor saw me skid and bang my teeth and face on the cement. And he came out into the lobby. He said, with Dan's gravelly voice, if you know him, and he's got a distinctive voice. And Dan said, kid, you suck. You really need to work on your speaking skills. You can't sell shit, much less ice to the Eskimos. No, you burned it down. And he walked off. That was the words of encouragement. Nothing, no hand on the shoulder. Hey, you'll do better next time. He just gave it to me straight in the face. Punch, you suck. And I thought, wow. Now, I'm of a competitive nature. I was a former professional athlete on the pro karate circuit in the 80s during my 20s. And I didn't like losing. And I wasn't going to put my head in the sand, Brett. So I then mustered up some courage, walked inside, and I tapped Dan on the shoulder. I said, can I talk to you for a minute? What? I said, I want to talk to you outside, please. So I brought him outside. I said, Dan, your feedback is well received. Thank you. It's a bit blunt, but I can appreciate that. You punched me in the face, and I know now how to block and parry that blow. How do I improve? What can I do to get better? Because I am not failing. I don't like being a failure. And I'm sorry if I embarrassed you, but I'm going to do better next time, guaranteed. Tell me what I should do. Ron LeGrand's got a training coming up in 3 weeks in Florida on how to platform sell. You better be there. It's 10 grand. I said, here's my card. I signed up right there on the spot, gave him $10,000, of course, which he made $5,000 on the sale because he was, which is fine. And I saw a whole new world open up. So I'm going to have to say my true selling from the stage career started out of a miserable failure. And selling from the stage is quite different. And Brett, have you know, before I did this with Dan, I was a pitchman on Home Shopping Network. So I sold products on live TV for 3 years. So that's in front of a camera, selling into a group of people using slides, which I never used when I was on HSN. It was a product. We talk about it, put a spin on it, and we know how well we're doing based on the ticker of sales that are going by the second. That's how it was, 5 million viewers. So I was no stranger to selling. I was no stranger to selling to a live audience that I never saw. They were in TV land. I sold to a camera. So then to sell from the stage, completely different skill set, different dynamic. And I didn't know how to manage my overheads. He said, do this, because I asked Dan before he booked me. I said, okay, I'll put together some overhead. I'd never used overhead transparencies before. I didn't know how to use that. Today, of course, they're antiquated. Nobody's got a projector like that. So that was my entree to speaking and selling from the stage, which I believe, just an opinion of someone who's now been on stages for 40 years, it is the ultimate separation of men from the boys, in my opinion.
Can't disagree with you there at all. So, well, that's a great story. So that makes me wonder, Mitch. So obviously, you know that storytelling is a critical part of establishing rapport with an audience and having success as a speaker. So what makes for a great story in your mind?
I would say the old adage from my early days as a copywriter, and copy was the print, but it's no different today using video. You've got to start from fat to fit, from unhealthy to healthy. You've got to take people on a journey. And where you started, it's not, the rags to riches, to unbranded to totally branded, from Target to Van Cleef and Arpels, to look at somebody who drives a Toyota Corolla to a Bentley. It's all about branding and telling the evolution. And when you are well branded and positioned, it's also authority position, which is one of the more recent terms related to it. It's a matter of being in that spot and deserving the pay that you are going to extract, or the money you're going to extract from the audience. Is there a perceived value, and is there money at a discount? Can you compel them to open up their wallets? And you've seen some of the best speakers in the world with your background. I mean, you know that it's a formula. It's, can I do it? Is it easy? And will it make me money? Is there going to be a positive ROI from me investing in this speaker system? The biggest is, can I do it? Is it easy? And will I be able to ROI? Will I get a return on my investment over time? And sometimes they fantasize, and most people never do anything. They buy the system and then it sits on a shelf. Now it's a digital shelf. But so that's a little bit of my background.
So you've done the keynoting thing, you've done the platform selling thing, you've done the speaking just as a business building tool. Which of those worlds do you like to play in the best?
I've also done MC work. That's where, I only do that if I can then sell at the end, because to work for $3,000 a day is an utter waste of my time. It's not a good use of my time, unless I see a back-end opportunity out of it. If I'm rubbing elbows with that. So emceeing is fun, but I'm looking for the whale. And as a selling speaker, which I enjoy, because moving an audience from being crossed up and unapproachable to then their wallets open up. And when I'm providing true value to them, there's nothing more gratifying. I don't sell anything that I don't support or unethical. I mean, we've met those speakers over the years too. No, I must feel and know that people can benefit, which I have as an offer. That's the position I like to take, one of integrity.
So I'm curious, Mitch, when you were speaking for the promotional products company, what was your go-to topic then?
At that time, it was my company, and I would sell dimensional mail products in order to get the doors opened, using unique mailers such that people would pay attention to it. And it was like, what is your unique subject line in an email? It was there. It's like, what is the outside packaging that is unique, where people can then cause them to be curious, the creation of curiosity. So they go to the next step, open it up, read the email, which is read the letter that's inside the envelope or different type of packaging, and then respond to the offer. What's the call to action?
So
It's a
essentially, it sounds like it
formula.
was a show and tell of the products themselves then.
In many cases, yes.
Okay, cool. All right, so going back to the world of platform selling, give me, Mitch, maybe two or three of your biggest tips to be successful as a platform seller.
Okay. Oh gosh, I've got many. I'll just give you
You can
yeah.
give more than two or three. That's fine.
Yeah. Well, number one, there's never enough practice. Number two, be prepared to have the promoter, depending on who you're working with, and this has happened so many times in my career, be prepared, prepare for Murphy's Law. What can go wrong will go wrong. Prepare for the lights to go out, prepare for technology to fail, know your presentation with and without PowerPoint. Know how to sell regardless of the conditions. I was at an event in Dubai. The first time I was speaking there, oh gosh, this was probably 16 years ago. And the AV guy was outside smoking a cigarette and my PowerPoint presentation went down. Then I had to fish him off. There were 700 people in the audience. I had to fish him out from outside smoking a cigarette to get inside and getting my presentation up again because I had to hand him the stick. It wasn't my, he was the one doing it. So then we were up again. Then I had a headset on the over the head as opposed to the lavalier, which I have loved and used and absolutely embraced until this day. I don't like the over the head headset, and it shorted out because the room was so hot. I was stressed about the first presentation going down from him. So it shorted out and was wet. And guess where the AV guy was? Outside smoking a cigarette again. So I had to then grab a handheld. So my lesson with this is be extremely comfortable with failure. Know how to respond to it. And I ended up going to my trusty, dusty handheld wireless mic, which I find to be the best because I can also do the voice of God and get down and speak like this, and it can boom the room. It's a good pattern interrupt. So I say, be prepared, over prepared, and some promoters will shorten your time. I was at an event not too long ago. I got invited to speak in Atlanta, and I was told I had an hour. My actual speaking time was 20 minutes.
Wow.
He had screwed up. And he said, Mitch, sorry, bud, or sorry, my friend, can you do it in 20 minutes? I said, how am I going to do it? I can't. I said, and I'm thinking this in my head. No, I can't. Mitch, you've been here before. You're always prepared. I said, sure. And I still closed 20% of the room in 20 minutes.
Wow.
20, and it was not an inexpensive package. I had the right market right in front of me and I was set up well, and I did a double close with him, but the time constraint was there. Be prepared because very seldom does everything go according to scale or according to plan. I was at a Mark Victor Hansen event back in 2003, speaking at his mega marketing event. Joe Polish was on before me. I love Joe, but he's a blabbermouth. He went 14 minutes over his time slot.
Yeah, I've seen speakers go 45 minutes over their time slot.
Well, no, then that's another discussion. I mean, I've had that happen also, happened to me in Australia. And then I'm not rude. I don't want to cut into the next speakers. So what do? Do you fall on your sword, or do you go the full 90 minutes or amount of time you're allotted? So, I mean, I told Joe, I said, what were you doing, man? And he was with another speaker they co-sold, but he just ran way over and thought, I mean, there are many that I could certainly name drop of all the speakers that think it's okay to go over their time slot, and it's not. Respect the fellow speakers, because almost every referral I've had in life as a platform salesman since 1996 has come through other speakers.
Yep.
Or people in the audience who are promoters, and how you conduct yourself on stage matters. The manners and ethics you convey to the audience at large matters. You can get upset and pull a tantrum, but you'll slit your own throat. Be a gentleman.
Yep. Well, I would say your speaking engagement starts the moment you walk in the front door of that hotel or that convention center or whatever, because people will be watching you. And if you do something rude to a hotel clerk, or you're lambasting your crew behind the stage about doing their job or whatever, people will notice, and you won't get the
100%
results that you
agree.
want.
You
So,
never know who's in the lobby watching you
mhm.
when you check in at the hotel. And if you want
Right.
to dress well, that's up to you. But if you're comfortable traveling, understand that anybody could be right next to you. Same on the airplane. You
Yeah.
never know who's sitting next to you or behind you. I've had that happen.
Hopefully, you didn't say something derogatory about a fellow speaker that you didn't know was behind you.
No, never. There's no point in it. I mean, I could easily name drop of bad experiences, but what's the point? I don't know that he's not your best friend or she's not your best, and it just isn't nice. I don't want it done to me. And it's maintain some professionalism. You touched on it, Brett, and I concur. Maintain a professional manner about yourself, your conduct, because you never know, and you will feel better about yourself in the process. Operate with integrity. You will be treated with integrity.
All right. So, any other tips for success before we take a quick break?
Yes, practice your presentation. Know it while you are asleep. I can't stress that enough. Be prepared for the unprepared. I could tell about all sorts of tales. We don't have time for it. Be prepared. Also, drink lukewarm water. Never drink cold water when you're on the stage. It freezes your vocal cords. Also, make sure your shoes are shined. All of the physical details are incredibly important. Look your best, because when you're selling, people are always looking for a reason not to buy, and don't give it to them.
All right. So, we were talking, Mitch, before we went on air about ties. So,
Yes.
what's your standpoint on whether speakers should wear ties these days or not?
Well, I asked you about that, and I had read recently, I saw on a Netflix show, a tie is for somebody trying to impress. Today, if you wear a suit jacket, dress like you are, you're very comfortable, you don't have to impress anyone. You're in charge. You're not there to impress anybody. Then you're comfortable and you don't have to sell anybody. People want you more than you need them. And that's a perspective. Not sure if I agree with it. I think for formal events, if I were attending a wedding or whatnot, I might wear a tie. For speaking events, depends on the environment. So I'm going to match the environment. I've spoken a lot in Japan, and they're a formal society, and it's a white shirt with a tie. Unless you're there during the summer, then everybody wears a suit, no tie, white shirt. Got to match your audience. So I would never wear, there's one particular speaker that talks about what you should wear on stage, certain colors of ties and all this. I say poppycock. Dress according to the audience, connect with them. If you're speaking to a high-tech group in the Silicon Valley and it's filled with 30-year-olds, there's no way I'm wearing a tie. They're going to think I'm their great-grandfather. And, we're going to go to church together or something. No, I'm going to match. I'm going to wear a coat and probably a shirt like I'm wearing, not even a collared shirt. I'd wear a straight black t-shirt underneath with a sport coat, possibly jeans, and some stylish loafers.
Yep. That's kind of been my gear at most speaking engagements recently. When I'm on stage, I typically wear a sports coat, but I'm
Yep.
typically wearing jeans and just,
Yeah.
dressing to
And
the audience.
that's,
So,
yes. And I had a client on my TV show recently who came in. He was 34 years old, looked younger, from Canada, in the tech industry, wanted to get big media exposure. He came out. He was wearing jeans, a coat, and a black t-shirt. Guess how I went and dressed? I
yep.
matched him. I wore a black t-shirt. I'm not enamored by wearing ties anymore. We talked about that a little bit before we began. It was just how we were raised, though. The mark of a gentleman wears a tie. That's antiquated thinking. We're adjusting to the now and to the future. And so I wore and I dressed according to him. and I had no shoes because they were under the table and they weren't
I'm
on
not wearing
camera.
any shoes right now. I gotta be honest.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm wearing shorts, so right, you
Me
just
too.
won't see it. It's hot here in Las Vegas.
It is indeed hot here in Indiana also right now. So, Mitch, I have some other questions I want to ask you, but before we do, let's take a quick break for a word from our sponsor.
Are you a business owner or entrepreneur who's had great success in the business world, and now you want to launch a speaking career to share your message with the world? If that's you, then listen up. 25-year speaking industry veteran Brett Ridgway has released his latest special report, 3 key things entrepreneurs must master to build a profitable speaking business. To pick up your copy, go to brettridgway.com/freebie.
And we are back with the Spotlight on Speaking show, and my guest in this episode is Mitch Carson. We're having some wonderful reminiscing and storytelling here, but I want to ask you, Mitch, about an embarrassing moment. So one of my favorite questions always to ask my guests is, okay, time to fess up, share something that you've done during your speaking career that was a bit embarrassing at the time, left you a bit red-faced, but a valuable lesson was learned, and it would be something that you would highly advise aspiring speakers not to do.
Oh gosh,
Pick 2. I mean, you said you had many, many, many. So pick 2 for me.
Oh, I was speaking at a Kennedy conference in Chicago right in the middle. In the next salon next door was a Sweet 16 party, and I had about 400 people in the audience. I was, had one of the 90-minute selling spots, and this was probably late 90s, and there were 700 screaming teenagers next door. 700. It was a Sweet 16 party. I don't think they had alcohol because it would have been illegal given the age of the girls, but that did not stop them from screaming at very inconvenient times. So I had to contend with the unexpected, unanticipated. And I don't know if it falls into the embarrassing part, but they screamed at points during my presentation, which caused the audience to laugh. Now, I could have done 2 things. I could have gotten red-faced, depressed, angry, disappointed. All the emotions on the meter could have surfaced. Instead, I turned it, used it to my advantage and said, who wants to join the party after? But I made some comment to piggyback on an unexpected occurrence. Humor mitigates distress or stress. And it worked for me. It took a little bit of the stress off me. Bottom line, prepare for the unexpected, be ready, deal with it. If it's a technology issue, you deal with it. I touched on that earlier. You continue. The show must go on. This was unexpected. It was a very loud neighbor. It was embarrassing because they were screaming at different points. I'm trying to talk about business and direct mail products that they can use to get doors open. This is the promotional products pitch I was selling. And on that particular day, I had a tremendous sell-through. Now, did I do an exceptional job dealing with it? Yes, because I'd already had other embarrassing moments. I mentioned the one time at that Cairo conference at the beginning of our discussion, I had that experience. So once you develop a thicker skin and prepare for it, because the lesson here, ladies and gentlemen, is you will have issues. I guarantee it. I guarantee you will have challenges if you are in the world of professional speaking. And I'm not addressing Toastmasters. No offense, but that isn't my market. I'm addressing professionals who make money or desire to make money from the stage. Whole different level. Be prepared.
Well, now, what happens to you at an event as a speaker is not good or bad. It's how you choose to react to it that makes
Correct.
it good or bad. So,
100%. Yeah.
All right. So I have another area I want to cover with you, Mitch, because you have expertise in many areas. But one of the things that many speakers want to do certainly is get media exposure, get on TV and all that. So what are the keys for speakers that want to get booked on TV?
All right. Well, there are two groups of people that I work with, authors and speakers, principally, and then some CEOs who want to elevate their brand or their perceived value. And that's what we're talking about. Some of it might be ego-based. Hey, I was on TV, great. We've all seen the logos that some people claim, I can get you all these logos, but that's written and that's a press release that gets submitted to XYZ TV station in Podunk, Iowa. No. What I supply and guarantee is people exposure on network television, ABC, CBS, the CW, and CBS, ABC, NBC, and Fox in some occasions. So I work with 5 networks here in Las Vegas. And to get prepared for that, they've got to have a hook. And they have to be trained how to answer questions concisely in sound bites. So the host can have some good ammunition to potentially dig deeper, because most TV interviews range from 2.5 minutes to a maximum of 4. Maximum. That's the range. Worldwide, that's the range. And I've gotten people on TV in more than 24 countries around the world. The book is an easy way to open a door because it gives you uniqueness. You all have a unique thumbprint. We've all heard that, and it's true. If you've written a book, regardless of the category, makes you unique. It's your perspective. Because in order to get the producer interested, you have to be interesting. And in order to be interesting, there's a big distinction between, and you know this as an author yourself, Brett, when you become a published author, you enter an elite category. You've done what most college graduates never envision doing themselves. It's not as hard as people envision it, yet you haven't done it. You either do, or dream about it. And the doers earn all the big rewards and catch the low-hanging fruit when it becomes available to them. So a book is an easy way, also aligning with what is called a media calendar. So around the year, each month has a series of media thrusts. So attach yourself to, if you are African American, Black History Month. If you are a woman, Women's History Month. If it is 4th of July, have something that ties to the independence of our country, the United States of America. If you have something that can bring us to American history, easier to get you on network television. But they are quite scrutinizing, and it may be traditional media, and it's a completely different level of getting coverage than other platforms or other media sources. So you've got to have a unique angle. Much like, in order to get booked on your podcast, I gave you a one sheet, which gave information about me. Have a comprehensive social media presence. Today, it's necessary. What's your YouTube? What's your LinkedIn? What's your Twitter, now X, and or Instagram? I would say those are the bare bones. Then there are all other platforms to expand on, but you have to be researched. They will Google you, and yes, it's a verb. They will look you up and look at your background. I would say the most important social network as a speaker, well, the 2 most important. Number 1, you got to have LinkedIn and have an all-star profile. Number 2, as a speaker, if you don't have a YouTube channel, what business are you in? If you can't be seen on video and they're looking to book you and you have no YouTube videos, or if you have a couple and they're 4 years old, probably not serious about the world of professional speaking. And this is just my opinion, Brett.
Sure. So, I mean, obviously, as you said, you have to have that hook, but is the best approach to get media these days via email, via telephone? What's your recommended approach to getting those spots?
Okay, telephone, absolutely not. It's interesting. Let's say when you and I grew up, you called people. Today, if you call somebody, they're alerted, they're surprised, they react, and they think, oh my gosh, you called me. We didn't have an appointment to call. And it's almost an invasion. So certainly you don't want to call a show booking agent or producer. You want to email and it has to be concise, to the point, and timely. What is it that their viewers will benefit from if they were to broadcast you? If you were to be invited on as a guest, what benefit does their audience, they don't give a hoot about you. You're irrelevant. It is all about their audience and ratings. Will you tick up? Will people stay and watch your whole segment? And really what that means is, will you then be enough to feature, to get into the advertiser? Because the advertiser is all that matters. 100%. It is a business. TV isn't for fun. It's a business. And if you don't produce value, so people don't click away, if they stay, if they click away, goodbye. Goodbye, speaker. If they stay and then get to spill over into the advertiser, they've made their money.
Yeah.
It's all about the money.
Yeah, well, most things are these days. All right, so great advice, and I so enjoyed our time together, Mitch. I want to give you a couple minutes to tell people a little bit more about what it is that you do and how they can get involved in your world if they so choose.
Today, my focus as a, let's say, international speaker, and I've spoken on the stage for 63 countries and been doing this a long time. One of the key elements that people lack, a lot of people talk about books. Very important to have a book. If you are a professional speaker, you need one. If you don't, you're not serious. That's my opinion. The second is, and where my focus is today, is I live in Las Vegas, and I guarantee people at least 4 network television interviews. 4, not 5, 4, because Fox, I cannot guarantee. Sometimes it happens, depends on the producer, but 4, ABC, NBC, CBS, and the CW, I can guarantee. And I can guarantee getting you on a live radio station. Now, I don't work for free. There is a fee, but once you do this, you are forever branded professionally, unlike these logos that you buy from a press release. Now, this is supported by actual interviews, and I train everybody to be effective on camera, to answer questions effectively, concisely, without right, like. Those are some of the favorites that are nails on the chalkboard to me. We get rid of those through proper training. And then when you are on air, you are effective. This is live TV. You don't get a retake. No, you are on live television, and it broadcasts throughout the state of Nevada. I've had a 100% success rate. Nobody has messed up. I had a guy here just last week that said a couple ums, and I bopped him on the head after. I said, we went through this, but he did better. He did better. And he's got media now. He was from Toronto, Canada. He came in to justify his and credentialize himself so he can charge higher rates. Because if you've been on network television and it's a provable asset with the recordings to support it, when they click on the link and it showcases you for 4 minutes, wow. Whole different level of credibility versus clicking on, oh, I was on such and CBS website blog. That has no credibility. It actually hurts you. It hurts you to improperly use network logos, in my opinion. So what I provide is the real deal, and it's guaranteed. As far as I know, I'm the only publicist in the country that does this. I've never met anybody that guarantees that we do it all in 2 days. You come to Vegas, you do it all. You'll do 2 to 3 stations a day, depending on scheduling, but you get it all done in 2 days, and then you leave. There's no long-term contract. There is no contract. You do it all in 2 days, you're covered, soup to nuts.
So where do people go if they want to get more details or reach out to you on this, Mitch?
I had put that in. Well, they can contact me directly for the people if they want to email me and set it up. But if they want to book an appointment, I believe I dropped that in the spot, and it's get interviewed guaranteed and meet with Mitch. And we can certainly put that into your resources later. But that is where they'll set up a time to then discuss it and go through it. But if they want to email me directly, they can, mitch@mitchcarson.com, mitch@mitchcarson.com, and we can chat if this is something that interests you. And it's not $50. Just so they know, the packages are typically around $10,000.
All right, very good.
Yeah.
All right, Mitch, I want to thank you so much for being my guest on this episode of the Spotlight on Speaking show and sharing your wisdom and expertise with my listeners. As always, I wish you the greatest success in all that you do, Mitch. And to all the listeners out there, thank you for joining us today. And as always, may this year be your greatest year yet. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.
This has been the Spotlight on Speaking show with Brett Ridgway. Be sure to join us every week as we interview speaking industry pros and have them share their best tips for building a profitable speaking business. Until next week, thank you for tuning in, and remember to visit our website at spotlightonspeaking.com so you can enjoy even more great episodes like this one. While you're here, be sure to subscribe via your favorite network. We look forward to seeing you next time on the Spotlight on Speaking show. Until then, our sincere best wishes to you for the greatest of success as you work to build your own profitable speaking business.